Welcome to Week in One. I'm Govin Whittles. Week in One brings you the news stories and interviews on eNCA that have South Africa talking. Let's take a look at this week's top stories. The final volume of the State Capture Report is presented to President Cyril Ramaphosa. The DA's planned action following the robbery at the president's Palapala farm. Operation Dudula goes to the Joburg Park station, and mass service delivery protests in Soweto. Close to 4 years later, the work of the State Capture Commission is done. This has been sealed by Chairperson Raymond Zondo, who handed over the final volume to the President. Let's look at some of the highlights from that report. President Cyril Ramaphosa claimed he was fighting state capture from within the ANC and the cabinet.
While I would have earned quite a lot of praise from many quarters, this action of resignation would have significantly impaired my ability to contribute to bring about what I would call an end to state capture. It would have caught the big headlines, newspapers, and that would have been the end of it. Had I and like-minded individuals resigned from the executive, we would have had no ability to resist some of the excesses that were taking place. And there was a clear danger that without some measure of resistance, there would have been even fewer impediments to the unfettered expansion of the state capture project.
But the State Capture Report says Ramaphosa couldn't provide concrete examples of how he did this. Instead, the missing ANC Deployment Committee meeting minutes while he was chairperson reflects on his leadership. Meanwhile, former President Jacob Zuma has been fingered for protecting the Gupta family from investigations. At the commission, Zuma told Commission Chairperson Raymond Zondo that he had no idea why the Guptas claimed to hold sway over his cabinet.
Well, let's put it frankly, the chances that Mr. Gupta was taking is reflected on page 6. Did you have any idea that he was going to these lengths to secure the whole advertising budget of the departments for advertising?
I mean, I had nothing to do with his discussion with Maseko.
Yes.
Why should I have an idea?
The report found Zuma probably knew about their influence and facilitated the capture of the state. As for Zuma's claims of being a victim of an international conspiracy to eliminate him,
the plan made way back has been working, and our enemies, in fact, have recruited more even than during the struggle. That's why you will see things when people are doing things in the manner in which doesn't look like ANC. It is some of them who influence that there should be this commission to bury Zuma.
the Chief Justice found that evidence from other ANC leaders who served in intelligence structures shows Zuma's claims are only a conspiracy. Govin Whittles, Johannesburg. The Democratic Alliance says it doesn't trust the police to investigate the Palapala dollars scandal, and it's asked the FBI to conduct its own probe. Earlier this week, the DA announced the steps it's taken to expose the truth about the burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's game farm in Limpopo. The DA has written to the Financial Intelligence Center, the Public Protector, Parliament, and even the US's FBI to investigate the Palapala farm scandal.
To request that they investigate allegations of possible money laundering by the President. Specifically, we've requested that the FBI considers investigating the source of the funds and whether the money was brought into South Africa legitimately and declared to the appropriate authorities.
The DA believes the President may have violated his oath of office to uphold the Constitution, and they're checking whether he declared his private business interests.
I don't think that it is too much to ask that if the President is running businesses on the side that are clearly distracting him from the work of running the state, then I think that we have a right to know what they are and the extent of them.
And while the DA wants the Justice Minister to appear before Parliament to account for an apparent lack of cooperation with the Namibian authorities, his department denies this.
We were a bit intrigued when we saw that statement, and we sought to follow it up. And we've done so through the diplomatic channels. Our High Commissioner in Namibia knows nothing about the request. Neither does the Namibian High Commissioner in South Africa know about the request.
But the DA says it's not convinced that it should call for Ramaphosa to step down just yet. Instead, it's vowed to use whatever means necessary to get to the truth. Govin Whittles, Ekurhuleni. Pressure group Operation Dudula has accused PRASA of protecting foreign nationals and allowing them to trade at Joburg Park Station at the expense of South Africans. Dudula marched to the train station demanding answers, and eNCA's Pule Lechwiti Jones was there.
Operation Dudula members have accused PRASA of allowing foreign nationals to trade informally at Johannesburg's Park Station to the exclusion of South African informal traders. The activist group says PRASA has turned a blind eye to promises it made previously to change the informal trading system.
In the next 7 days, until we meet the decision makers of PRASA, because they are the main stakeholders here in the Park Station, then the non-South Africans must not trade. Only our own people will be allowed to sell here, because we are not fighting our own people. We're not fighting the non-South Africans, but we just want the law to take its course. So for the next 7 days, we do not want any non-South African that will be trading here, because informal trading is just for South Africans. Mr. Mzwaledi has said it, and especially here in Joburg, CBD, that's where it's supposed to be actually implemented.
PRASA has responded to Operation Dudula, saying it's not excluding South Africans. The railway parastatal says policies are in place to allow South Africans to trade formally.
So we do work with informal trading associations. They give us the database, and as far as we know is that a lot of them are South Africans. However, we also have picked up a trend where sometimes people that have been given spaces to operate, they would then lease them out to foreign nationals that are not documented, and that's something that we are working very hard to clamp down.
Operation Dudula members shut down Johannesburg's Park Station today, disrupting businesses. Some vendors affected by the march called it an ambush by the movement on innocent civilians.
bathi ndinomkhwenyana we-foreigner then bangena phapho bangena bebefuna uthatha iintsimbi bebefuna uthatha iintsimbi so ndithi nithe nizolungisa nithanga nizothatha into zabantu
bafuna ukuthatha iintsimbi zethu akekho ozothatha iintsimbi zethu la wenza bona dayisa la siyadayisa la indawo yethu lena abafowethu bazositshela ukuthi sihambe siye babafurina thina la.
Operation Dudula has vowed to continue its shutdown of Park Station until the end of the week. If PRASA doesn't urgently meet its demands. Pule Lechwiti Jones in Johannesburg.
Well, stay tuned to Week in One. Coming up, we'll be showcasing some of the big interviews conducted by our anchors on eNCA this week. Welcome back to Week in One. In this part of the show, we take a look at a few of eNCA's anchors' hard-hitting interviews this week. Now, it's often the case that our anchors cross live to reporters who were right in the middle of the action, and this week was no exception, as disgruntled Soweto residents marched to the office of the Joburg mayor, Mpho Phalatse. Anchor Tumelo Mototwane spoke to Nqobile Madlala, who was right in the middle of it.
We are hearing that more taxis and buses are yet to come, but more people joining in. Indeed, as you can see, they've already started with the chanting and, of course, preparing for that waited upon march that we have been told about, that they are going to be delivering that memorandum to the mayor's office. But I want to bring in the community leader as well as Soweto Parliament President, Lux. We know that you are delivering a memorandum, but what sort of issues exactly do you want the mayor to address now?
Service delivery in general. At the top of the priority list of service delivery, the electricity crisis. We are saying the mayor must be deliberate, must be intentional in her leadership, and make sure that in her time we work together as a community and find sustainable solutions, especially around the electricity crisis.
And I mean, when you speak about electricity crisis, one thinks of ESCOM because ESCOM is the one who would manage electricity. Why then go to the mayor?
Because we want leadership in our in government to assist the communities with finding sustainable solutions around entities such as ESCOM. Because the people don't have the resources necessary to be talking to ESCOM's lawyers and attorneys and dragging the process. No. We want a deliberate government, a deliberate leadership that will take our people to the next phase where we all want to go. Because the current situation in Soweto is not a situation where normal human beings should be living.
The South African morning team, Gareth Edwards and Tumelo Mototwane, then followed up on the news with the frank discussion with the former Joburg mayor and now Action SA leader, Herman Mashaba.
So let's start with Soweto. We saw those, protests in Maponya, in front of Maponya Mall, the march leading to the Joburg mayor's office, heading over a memorandum of demands, I suppose. How deep-rooted are the issues in Soweto? In your experience as former mayor, just when you look at power, water, infrastructure issues, inequality, the quality of education, I can go on and on and on. How deep-rooted are those issues?
The issues in the city of Johannesburg are deep, real deep. I think, lucky enough, when I took over as a mayor in 2016, one of the first projects I embarked upon was to do the study of our infrastructure backlog. And at the time, 170 billion rands. Remember, as the media, I called you to really give you this infrastructure backlog, including the breakdown. And one of the issues I raised at the time was the supply of electricity in Soweto by ESCOM as to why should I, as a mayor of the city of Johannesburg, take the responsibility? Every time there's electricity problems in Soweto, by ESCOM, people of Soweto break down our infrastructure, our roads, burning tires and so forth. This is something that it's completely outside our control.
You as a former mayor, you tried to have your strategies in place, talking to ESCOM, then you left office. Now Mpho has to pick up, and those matters still haven't been resolved. And whether or not she continues for another term, I just wonder if it's not a touch-and-go situation where, at the end of the day, this matter around electricity in Soweto seems like it's not going to get an end.
Well, personally, I'm not confident, and I think I'm a positive person in life, but I think I'm pragmatic. For as long as you're going to have ANC at national government, it's going to be difficult for them to resolve this particular matter, because ANC is not in government to serve society. ANC is in government to ensure that they can look after their stomach. You can imagine if the city of Johannesburg, under our multi-party government, we take over ESCOM. You can imagine the nonsense that we've got to deal with. Because one thing for sure, for us, we don't really play. We're going to get the best forensic investigators to deal with the question of corruption in ESCOM. We are going to ensure that we put in a professional public service. We get rid of the cadres who don't know what they're there for. So they know all these dynamics. That's why I'm not really confident that they can really accept this, because ESCOM is sitting with massive issues that needs to really be addressed. And unfortunately for ANC, they've got to drag this for as long as possible to really cover their tracks. So they know if they allow us as a multi-party government, they know Action SA will push our coalition partners. Let's get forensic investigators. Let's get the Guptas out.
To this story now, the Gauteng Health Department says it's addressing challenges at the Rahima Musa Hospital after a recent open letter by pediatrician Dr. Tim de Meyer. He detailed the devastating consequences the failing public health system is having on young patients. Anchor Masego Rahlaga spoke to Joburg's MMC for Health and Social Development, Ashley Sauls.
This is not only about the services that they give to the people, it's about their working conditions as well. Because if they're not happy, how's a nurse going to give me proper services if they have to treat another 100 people in one day?
Absolutely. You know, there are bad apples in our healthcare system. There are bad nurses that's rude to our elderly, that's rude to the most vulnerable. Those people we need to deal with. But then there are good nurses. There are good doctors that I've met because I don't sit in my office. I'm at the clinics. I mop with the cleaners. Because I want to understand what is the environment like, what are the challenges like. It's only then that we are going to be able to bring changes. That's why I'm in an overall, right? Because we work on the ground. And I've met good doctors. I've met good nurses. And Dr. Tim is one like those. And there's many others like him there. And they are working in bad conditions. We are expecting them to render a Ferrari-type service, but we're giving them a broken truck resources, broken truck-like resources, and it's poor, and we expect them to deliver. Now there's an outcry, and instead of us taking accountability, and I'm saying us, because I'm part of this government locally, and I'm saying we must take accountability and not victimize our good doctors who's doing the best that they can with the limited resources. Let us huddle together. Let's say, what do we have to make this thing better? And let's build, empower, and celebrate people like Dr. Tim de Meyer instead of victimizing them. But the opposite is also true. The people that are corrupt, the people that are the reason why our hospitals is in the state that it is, they are treated like royalty. They are not gone after. Where's the disciplinary hearing for those who wasted the money?
Yeah.
We need to take stock, and we need to say as government, we take responsibility. We celebrate people like doctors, like Dr. Tim and other nurses who under those poor conditions are still rendering a good service.
Yeah. So there's three spheres of government, right? You're locally, but there's also an MEC who's a little above you because she looks after the entire province. Have you had any conversation with her about stepping in, to assist probably Dr. Tim?
I can point the finger and blame, but that's not my style. We are responsible for healthcare in the city. So I'm saying we must send the correct message, which is if you are good within our system, we want to celebrate you, and let us then turn around and start dealing with the bad apples, start dealing with the corrupt, let's start seeing disciplinary hearings for those who's been wasting the money, the budget of hospitals. Let's start dealing decisively with those who are responsible for the poor healthcare that we are experiencing within the city of Johannesburg.
All right.
Stay with us here at Week in One, keeping you abreast of the news that's made the headlines over the past 7 days. Welcome back to Week in One. I'm Govin Whittles. The 14th conference of the ANC in Gauteng kicked off on Thursday and runs until Sunday. This as a dark cloud hangs over the Kuruleni Regional Conference, which had 19 quarantine votes as well as 7 disputes that are still outstanding. eNCA senior reporter Aviwe Mtila has the story.
With 1,134 voting delegates from at least 427 branches, the ANC in the Gauteng province says it's ready for its elective conference. Ekurhuleni, though, with its 19 quarantine votes, continues to be a thorn on the side of the ANC in the Gauteng.
We're not sure when will that NEC or special NEC be convened to finalize this matter. We remain hopeful that it's going to be resolved before we start our conference. So we believe that matter has been taken care of. So there's nothing that will affect our conference or the status of our conference. Remember, the provincial conference of the ANC is a conference of branches. It's not a conference of regions.
The West Rand region is the only one out of the 5 that hasn't sat down for its regional conference, and questions have been raised on whether the branches will be able to participate.
The branches of West Rand will be in the provincial conference. So the branches of West Rand are not excluded in the conference. 63 branches from West Rand will participate in the conference. The people who are not going to participate in the conference, it is the absent regional leadership on the basis that we didn't go to the regional conference.
Ahead of the conference, there are still outstanding disputes that need to be resolved.
It's 7, and that the National Appeals a committee is also dealing with 7. They've dealt with 2 yesterday. Yeah, so they're left with 5. And the PEC of the ANC in Gauteng said to the dispute committee and national, we're giving you up until Wednesday afternoon, meaning today, that you've got to resolve these issues.
The conference is expected to come to a close on Sunday, with the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, expected to deliver a talk on the Freedom Charter around 10 a.m. Avi Wemtila, Johannesburg.
To KwaZulu-Natal now, and angry residents of Guandengazi, west of Durban, took to the streets this week. They're demanding answers from the eThekwini municipality about the cutting off of their electricity supply. Residents say they've been without power for between 12 and 24 hours, almost daily, with no explanations. Mangoba Mqunu has that story.
This marked the second day of protests in Guandengazi, west of Durban, as residents took their frustrations to the streets. Residents blocked the main road, demanding answers. They accused eThekwini Metro of deliberately cutting their supply.
Sibawucisha ngesikhathi esithile bayo-ona futhi ngesikhathi esithile so nje uyabona ukuthi lento le inepolitiki phakathi nanekhansela la asilazi asiliboni kumanje ingane ayile ekoleni
ayiqali ngamaflat kade ugesi waqala uhamba ngo5 kuya ku20 to 6 ubuye ngo10 uqale kanjalo kade wayiqala lento yamaflat into yamanje
bolelwa nayinyama emafrijini nje yabo lathina kanti ngezi masidla inyama usakwazi ukuthenga ukudla kuyabola kuyala kulokho esingenako okuncane sikuzamayo kuthi kuphela inyanga ususheshisile vele ngoba uwazi ugesi usuyobuya waphela nje sesiyasaba ukuthi uyobuya nini ugesi kuyimanje emafrijini asinakudla ngoba siphela lempilo ishinsuku uyawuhamba ugesi awubuyi.
But coupled with this are ongoing water shortages in the area, which residents say are also a headache.
Baqhuma amapayipi amanzi awakalungiswa abantu kufanele bahambe nje khona basuka ngale ngenzansi kwase station 2 kilometers uyala uzofuna amanzi ngebhara.
Local businesses have also been hard hit.
Silahla inyama eningi sabolelwa ama-ice asikwazi ukudayisa akudayiseki ngamafriji aphathi ngabona ngoba noma uyothenga kufanele uthenge into wazi ukuthi uzothenga into ezoyidayisa mawuhamba ugesi.
But the eThekwini Metro is pointing fingers back at the community.
Then you cannot go and blame the municipality when people are stealing electricity. I can take you to Guandengazi today. I'll show you that the electricity is being stolen. And the electricity that is being stolen is more than what we're getting paid for. It's not about getting paid at the moment. It's about the fact that when they steal this electricity, we're then having an overload that we cannot control. We'll go there, restore the electricity, but it's prone to fall again. That's what's happening. So basically, it's a self-inflicted problem.
But these residents insist this is not the last of their protests, insisting their fight for better service delivery will continue. Mangoba Mqunu, Guandengazi, west of Durban.
This week, our news teams all over the country focused on municipalities, and the question we asked was, are South Africa's municipalities on the brink of collapse? 6 of South Africa's 8 major metropolitan municipalities are financially unsustainable and need critical government intervention. Only one metro region is an exception to this, and guess where it is? The Western Cape. Monique Mortlock compiled this report.
It's a town that's been plagued by poor governance and administration over the last few years. Beaufort West is in the process of implementing a financial recovery plan. For some residents, the latest negative audit outcome comes as no surprise.
Our municipality is letting us pay for services that we don't get. When last did they come and collect our refuse? When last did they do it properly?
We expected that from the previous government. Say for the last 5 years, they've got a disclaimer last year and a qualified opinion this year, and it's all there were cadre employments, nepotism, favors to one another, that type of thing.
Beaufort West and Laingsburg both received qualified audits. Both these municipalities fall under the Central Karoo district, an area which recently appointed Mayor Gayton Mackenzie is hoping to transform.
This municipality is bankrupt and it has been mismanaged over the years. My plan is very simple, to stimulate the economy. You know, everybody looks at the municipality for jobs. Look at the municipality for opportunities. What I'm trying to do is to sell this place, this destination for investors to come. And I said, you know, I must be an example. Beaufort West councillors were the only councillors in South Africa that voted against a salary increase. And they decided they want to emulate what I stood for, because I'm not taking a salary.
There are Beaufort West residents who are hopeful Mackenzie's ambitious plans will give the town the economic boost it so desperately needs. And then there are the critics who are waiting to see whether governance will improve and service delivery along with it. Monique Mortlock, Beaufort West.
And that's a wrap from us at Week in One. From myself and the Week in One team, have a lekker weekend.